Hello, today we are going to discuss Apple's marketing plan. So I put this together for my marketing management class as my final project, and I hope you enjoy. So first we're going to go over the history and background of Apple. So I know it's a pretty famous company, the majority of people know the background story, but in case there are any people who are not familiar with the background, I am happy to go over it. So Apple Computer was incorporated on April 1st, 1976. And it was founded by three friends, Steve Wozniak, Ronald Wayne, and most famously, Steve Jobs. The company was actually founded in Palo Alto in Jobs' parents' garage. Really funny to think about that that's really started out when looking at where the company stands today. More interestingly, Ronald Wayne actually did sell his stake in the company for $800 after Apple was created. So, doesn't seem like a lot of money right now. It seems like you really missed out, but maybe in 1976, that was a large chunk of change. So next we're going to move over to the mission and vision. So Apple's mission is to continue to provide best-in-class devices for customers. So each and every time that Apple comes out with a new product, they do its best to increase features on phones, make things more efficient. So it really does show that they are really striving to provide best-in-class and give the customers what they're paying for. When we look at the company's vision, it describes the desire to hold on to an innovative approach to building devices while still maintaining simplicity. So again, every time Apple comes out with something new, it's a very innovative product. So for example, with their iPhone 10, they came out with the Animoji feature. So a person is able to talk into their phone, and an Animoji pops up on the screen for the other person, and it looks like this emoji is talking to them with the friend's voice. So pretty cool feature. So again, trying to come up with those innovative things while still maintaining simplicity. So throughout the years, Apple's products have always had the iOS interface. That iOS interface has always offered simplicity and ease of use to customers. So again, even though they are getting all these fancy gadgets, it's not very hard to use, and you don't need to be an IT person to understand how to use them. Okay, so now let's get into the SWOT analysis. So the first thing we're going to look at are the internal factors, the strengths and weaknesses. So if we look at strengths first, Apple does have a lot going for it. So first, it has a strong brand image. You know, when a person looks at that logo of an apple with a bite taken out of it, it's pretty evident what that company stands for. Next, we have innovative products. So Apple's products are very innovative. A lot of times they're the first of its kind. We look at things like the iPhone. That was the first smartphone to come out on the market. So again, very innovative and usually always has innovative features. We look at brand loyalty. So Apple's consumers are very loyal. So whenever they're coming out with a new product, I don't see any other company have people line up and camp out 2 days before outside of their store to be the first ones to gain access to that product. So again, just goes to show how loyal Apple's customers actually are. And also product simplicity. So again, it's always a very sleek design. They're never bulky products. Very easy to use, again, in terms of the interface, but again, very simple and sleek in design. So very simple. If we switch gears and look at weaknesses, so Apple is not known for its low prices. So a lot of their products are on the pricier side. Don't really do sales, discounts, anything like that. Again, so something that's really not working to Apple's advantage at this time. In addition to that, they do have exclusive retail sellers. So Apple really only sells its products in a few channels. So they do have about 500 retail stores worldwide that obviously are licensed to sell their products. You can also buy Apple products on their website, apple.com, but they also do have some retail sellers that are authorized to sell their products. So for example, you can't walk into every tech store and be able to gain access to Apple products, but there are some technology places like Best Buy who are able to sell Mac computers and things like that in their stores. So again, a weakness that it is exclusive because then the products aren't easily as accessible to everyone. Last weakness that we have here is the iCloud security breaches. So iCloud is not known to be the safest matter of storing your photos and things like that. I think very recently we've had a lot of stories come out about, celebrities' private photos being hacked and released, and things like that. So I think that kind of deters a lot of people from storing things on the cloud. So definitely a weakness that Apple does have there. If we switch gears and look at the external factors, look at opportunities. The first opportunity is a market expansion of Apple TV. So Apple TV, as we'll discuss, does not have a huge market share. So definitely this is something that the company could think to increase. And also collaboration with other brands. So Apple did have a collaboration with Beats not too long ago, where if you bought a Mac computer, you got a free pair of Beats. That really swayed a lot of people to come buy a Mac computer just so they would get that free pair of headphones. So again, you're buying a $1,000 computer, you're getting a $200 pair of headphones out of it. So Apple still makes out pretty well. By collaborating with those other brands, they may be able to increase awareness around their products and also increase sales. We look at threats. So there is intense competition in Apple's marketplace. So they do have a broad portfolio of products, which makes it very easy to gain more competitors because there are always devices entering the marketplace. And also rising labor costs. So right now, the majority of Apple's manufacturing is done in China. Those costs are continuing to go up. So Apple has one of two options. They can pay those increased labor costs and take a hit on their net profit, or they can move their manufacturing elsewhere to find countries with lower labor costs. But that would entail a big social and ethical issue of should they be doing that, paying people lower wages, as well as it would cost them a lot to move all their manufacturing to another country. So again, big threat right there. Okay, so if we look at competition next, so again, like I said, Apple has a broad portfolio of products. So for today, we're going to look at the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and Apple Music. So what you'll see under the iPhone, so again, all of these products definitely have more than the competitors listed. Just trying to pull out the top and most noticeable ones. So for the iPhone, we have Samsung, Google, and Windows. For the iPad, competitors are Samsung, Google, Windows, and Amazon because they do manufacture the Kindle. For Mac, we have Dell, Toshiba, Windows, Acer, HP, and Lenovo. Apple Watch, we have Garmin, they make a fitness watch. Samsung makes a smartwatch. Fitbit makes a fitness tracker, as well as Fossil. So watch manufacturers, like traditional watch manufacturers, are now starting to come out with smartwatches. Next, we have Apple TV. So the main competitors here are Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, and that's because Apple TV is more of a hardware device, very similar to a streaming stick you would plug into your TV. We probably could add Netflix and Hulu under here because they do have streaming services as well. And lastly, we have Apple Music, The biggest competitors there are Spotify and Amazon Music. Again, very similar business models, just different products. So now let's look at our customers. So Apple's customer base mainly consists of males who are under the age of 24 years old. These customers are usually of Asian descent and have no children. This is in line with Apple's target demographic, who are people below the age of 35. So essentially, Apple's target market are young people. And that does fall in true to their sales because 2 out of every 5 Mac owners are under the age of 34. I would imagine that number would go up for iPhone owners and so on. So again, definitely in line with their target market. Okay, so now if we look at our marketing mix, so our product, price, place, and promotion. So again, I went through our products 2 slides ago. So if we look at the price, as you can see, it's a wide range of prices that list anywhere from $499 to almost $2,800. So if we look at the Mac first, it ranges anywhere from $999 to $2,800. Granted, this price could be higher depending on what specs and features you're getting on your Mac. I just went with the highest retail price that I saw, but definitely not a cheap price. This price will be dependent on whether you are getting the Pro or the Air, but still pretty steep. iPhone ranges anywhere from $349 to $999. And this is at retail price. So a lot of times when you are doing an upgrade through your wireless carrier, you are able to get your phone at a cheaper price, but if we're looking retail, that's where those prices will range, depending on what model you're getting. Next, if we look at the Apple Watch, and it ranges anywhere from $249 to $749, again, just depending on what series and what features you have on that watch. Next, we have Apple TV, ranges anywhere from $149 to $199, depending on if you're purchasing it for a standard TV or a 4K TV. Lastly, we have Apple Music, so that ranges anywhere from $499 to $1499. $499 is the price that students can pay with the student subscription. $1499 is for a family subscription. If you look at the iPad, you are able to typically get refurbished ones, but they usually go from anywhere from about $249 to about $600. Next, if we look at place, so again, talked about this a little bit in the last few slides, but majority of places that you can purchase Apple products are through Apple stores, the Apple website, authorized retailers, as well as the App Store. Lastly, promotion. So the majority of Apple's products are promoted through TV commercials as well as through public relations. So the reason I say public relations is because every year Apple has a conference where they unveil their newest product for the year. Press is invited. Press obviously read articles about these things because it is big news when Apple is releasing a new product. With all these articles that are getting written and all the word of mouth that's passing through due to these articles, Apple is able to make out pretty well with their public relations. Okay, so if you look at Ansoff's product market expansion grid, so just as a recap, Ansoff has 4 factors in his grid. They're market development, diversification, market penetration, and product development. The one that Apple probably fits best into is market penetration, and that's because it's described as selling the same thing to the same markets. So Apple does this by coming up with newer versions of the same product with new product specs. So for example, if a person has an iPhone 6 and they're thinking about buying the iPhone 10 because it has some new features that are included in it, if they go out and buy the iPhone 10, it's still the same person buying the same product. It's still an iPhone. So again, Apple is able to drum up that market penetration by making a few tweaks to its products and then selling it as something new. So essentially selling the same thing to the same market. Okay, so now we look at the valve category. So again, there are 8 categories in valves, but there are 3 that really encompass Apple consumers. Those are experiencers, innovators, and believers. So if we look at experiencers first, many of Apple's customers are the first to adapt to new trends because they want everything. So again, in the case of people who are camping outside of Apple stores, who are the first one to get the new iPhone, they are the experiencers. They are the early adopters of products that really drum up support for the rest of us to go and purchase it. After that, Apple's customers are also innovators because they're confident enough to experiment. So this is a plus because Apple does release a lot of new features that typically aren't available through any other technology company. So by having innovators in your corner to try those new products and deem them safe for everyone else to try is a huge plus. Lastly, we have Apple's customers as believers. The reason for that is because believers find advertising as a legitimate source of information. And that's helpful since Apple does provide many tech updates through its advertising. And we'll go over that in a little while, but definitely something to keep in mind. In addition to this, believers are very loyal customers, which really does encompass the typical Apple customer. They're usually very brand loyal. Once they are Apple, they're usually Apple through and through. So now we move on to our BCG mix. So we're going to start in the upper left-hand quadrant and look at the Apple Watch. So the Apple Watch in this case is the star. The reason for that is because they have a high market share in a very fast-growing market. So Apple did jump 57% in sales over the past year with the Apple Watch, showing that they do have cash cow potential. But because the market's not mature enough yet for the smartwatch itself, they cannot be deemed a cash cow just yet. But as that market matures it definitely will be a product that will generate a lot of profit and revenue for Apple. If we look to the right, we have the Apple TV. Apple TV is considered the problem child. The reason for that is because they have a low market share and a fast-growing market. So competitors do own a large part of the market, and that's because Apple TV was a little late to the game. So when we look at competitors like Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, even Netflix and Hulu, they have been around a lot longer than Apple TV is, which is why they were deemed the product child in this situation. Next, if we look at iPhone, iPad, and Mac, these products are the cash cow for Apple. Reason being is that they have a large market share and a very mature market. So, for example, if we look at the iPhone, it was released in 2007. During its first weekend of being available, it sold over 250,000 devices. So again, cash cow because it is in a very high market share, but in a very mature market. Cell phones are nothing new. They've been around for a very long time. When we look at the Mac, so the Mac was released in 1984. By the end of its first year of availability, Mac had almost the same market share as IBM, which was a technological giant in the 80s and the 90s. So again, very mature market. Laptop computers have been around for a very long time, and Mac has a very large market share. Lastly, we'll look at Apple Music. They are our dog in this situation, and that's because they have a low market share and a fairly mature industry. So music streaming is nothing new. It's been around for a pretty long time. But Apple Music did have a late arrival to the game, and that gave Spotify and Amazon Music the opportunity to swoop up all of those customers that were looking for a service similar to Apple Music. So again, that's why they are the dog in this category. So they have a low market share in a fairly mature industry. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears a little bit and look at advertising. So like I alluded to before, a lot of Apple's advertisements are very simple, sleek. They really get you thinking and tell you a story without explicitly saying anything. So if we look at this first one, it says, "It's finally here. Technology for the other 1% of us." So what does this mean? The way that I interpret this is the Apple Watch is finally here. It's here for people who don't want to go with the status quo and goes with those devices that everyone else is accustomed to. It's for people who are willing to break the mold, which is really a play on Apple's Break the Mold commercial that came out with the Macintosh computer that showed factories turning out humans, but once the Mac came along and somebody broke the mold to go get it. So again, showing that you don't want to follow the status quo, you want to break the mold and go with that Apple Watch. So if we look here, again, another very simple advertisement that just says MacBook, light, years ahead. So I would imagine this is probably an advertisement for the MacBook Air because it is a very light and thin device. So just by saying light, we understand that's what it is. You're not saying how much it weighs. Hey, it weighs 7 pounds less than a Toshiba computer. You're just saying it's light. And then you're saying years ahead. And then you have a play on words there where it looks like it says light years ahead. So what does that mean? Why is it years ahead? Is it faster than other computers? Does it have new product features that other computers don't? Is it years ahead because it's a lot lighter than other laptops? Again, really drums up those questions and almost asks the customer to be proactive to seek out that information. So again, very simple, sleek, tells us a lot without really telling us anything. So last advertisement here. So we have two different sections, very contrasting of each other. So if we look at the left-hand side, it's your phone. It's gray, it's drab, nothing really going on over there. Then we see a man jumping, making the leap over into the pink side, which is more the fun side, into the iPhone world. So really what this is telling us is, this man was drab over in the gray block. He was energized, decided, I need to go to the iPhone. When he makes that leap, he has energy. He's up in the air. He's excited. And when he gets to that iPhone, he's greeted by a bright color, liveliness, showing the users that that's probably the experience that you're going to have when you do switch to an iPhone. So again, very simple advertisement, but does tell a whole lot. And it can definitely be interpreted in a variety of different ways. So in conclusion, after looking at those advertisements, after looking at customer matrix and things like that, I think that Apple is on the right track. I think continuing with the current simplistic and clean design that they have is working for them. The majority of their products are leaders in the portfolio category. For example, iPhone is the most popular smartphone. iPads are the most popular tablets. Again, so what they're doing is working. It's just continuing that momentum, as well as keeping that momentum and filtering it over into other products. So again, Apple TV and Apple Music are not that high on the market share list just yet. So Apple does have the opportunity to be able to take those efforts maybe away for a little while from the iPhone and the Mac products that are pretty well established and put more efforts over into those devices that maybe aren't the most popular yet. In addition to that, we do want to continue to advertise to the current target market. So young people do love Apple. It's pretty spot on that this is who Apple should be advertising to, and that's who they should continue to target. Lastly, they need to keep a watchful eye on the competition. So again, Apple has a lot of competitors because they have so many different products that it could be hard to keep an eye on everyone at once. But it will be essential to keeping on top of things and making sure that they do maintain their market share. Competitors like Amazon, Samsung, Spotify, Netflix, they're not going anywhere. So Apple does need to make sure that they do keep a watchful eye on what they're doing, so that way they're able to stay on top. So with all that being said, I think that Apple is on track. They're doing what they're doing, and I think they should continue with those sleek advertisements, that demographic, as well as just keeping an eye on their competition. So I thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned a lot, and thank you for your time.